Hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Are you the kind of person that has intrusive thoughts? You know, the ones where the thought pops into your head and then you have this kind of emotive reaction to it, or you feel like it needs a whole long discussion inside your head. Well, a lot of people have these intrusive thoughts, and you don't need to beat them or tackle them or work with them every single time a thought comes up. I was working with a client that had lots of intrusive thoughts that were connected to criticism, judgment, and shame. And they felt that whenever those thoughts came up, it was just either a battle to try and counter it, or they just had to deal with those thoughts. So actually, this hypnosis session uses two powerful metaphors that can be really helpful. Most people these days get lots of emails, but you don't have to read every email that you receive. Some of it is spam or junk, and either it goes automatically into those folders, or you can flag it and put it in those folders. Or if it's a newsletter that you subscribed to years ago, you can unsubscribe. And you can think of your thoughts like that thoughts can be intrusive and good. If you have an epiphany, an idea, some incredible thought that you can do, great, that's an intrusive thought, but it's a good one. That would be like a really unexpectedly positive email. But equally, it might be an intrusive thought, which is the equivalent of a phishing scam, in which case you're not going to give that any attention at all. And likewise, using the garden metaphor, weeds will grow in a garden. It requires no effort to do that. But that doesn't mean that you're a bad gardener, and it doesn't mean that you have a bad garden. What doesn't make sense, though, is to feed the weeds, because then you're going to have more of them and they're going to get bigger. So there's a few metaphors in this hypnosis session that can be really useful, and it's part of a hypnotic experience. So if you like the idea of releasing some of those intrusive thoughts and not having to do anything about them, then I think you're going to get some value from this particular session. So find a nice, comfortable, calm place, the kind of place where you're not going to be disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that feeling of calm relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of tension, stress, or worries leaving your body as you exhale. Breathing in and breathing out. Noticing that the deeper you breathe, the more resourceful you feel, and the longer you exhale, the more of those unwanted feelings or sensations you can release. And even if that's just tension or stress, worries, or even certain thoughts, echoes, just allow them to leave your body in your outward breath. That's it. Deeper and deeper and more comfortable, relaxed. And notice that with your eyes closed, how much more you can focus on the sound of my voice. As if the outside world is disappearing. As if you can gravitate and shift to a place where powerful changes happen. It's natural for people to experience trance-like states all the time. Sometimes it's reading a book and not noticing that you're turning a page. Sometimes it's just drifting off into a daydream, or doing something you've done so many times you can do it on autopilot. And in doing so, doesn't it feel sometimes like time is distorted? You don't even realize what you're doing, and yet it gets done. To awaken all of those parts of the brain that know how to go into that state, a wonderful state where there's nothing you need to do, and yet things feel like they're changing. That's it. And as you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine a garden. And not just any garden, a magical garden. And just imagine there is a desk and a chair in that garden, a very comfortable chair. And just imagine resting and relaxing in that chair. Allow your body to sink into that chair, and tension slowly melts away. Each breath taking you deeper into calm, giving you that drifting, floating, sinking feeling. That state where your mind can learn new ways of being. And as you continue to relax, you may notice that thoughts will come and go, like leaves being blown in the wind. And that's perfectly natural, because the goal isn't to stop thoughts. It's simply to change the way you relate to them. And I want you to imagine a computer on that desk in front of you, there in the garden. And I want you to imagine what it would be like if this garden and this desk is almost like a quiet, private control room in your mind. And from this safe place, you can observe your thoughts from a distance without being caught up in them. Almost as if they are messages appearing on a screen or plants growing in a garden. You are simply the observer, calm, neutral, and at peace. And now on the screen of that computer, I want you to consider it your mental inbox, almost like an email account. And without you needing to do anything, messages arrive automatically. And just imagine some of these emails are important, genuine messages that need your attention, care, and a thoughtful reply. But most are spam, scams, and junk, or newsletters that might have been useful once, but now are no longer of interest. And just as you wouldn't blame yourself for receiving spam, there's no need to blame yourself for intrusive thoughts. They simply arrive. It's not personal. It's just the way the system works. And here you have choices and discernment. You can read what matters and delete what doesn't. And you can unsubscribe from anything that no longer serves you, or put things into the junk folder or block folder with a single click. And each time you let a thought go, or mentally put it into that delete folder, You're training your mind to know, this isn't worth my energy. It's just a thought, not a fact. And if you've ever returned to an inbox after a long break, it can feel overwhelming to go through all of those emails. But once you do, and the filter knows what to put into a clutter folder, a spam folder, a junk folder, when you unsubscribe from all those things you don't want to see anymore, then your mental inbox of thoughts becomes lighter, clearer, and calmer. I want you to imagine setting rules on your inbox, trusting your intuition, which is the computer, to only put it front of mind if it's really important. And every time it isn't, you're teaching that internal system to put it straight into a junk box, a spam folder, the next time a similar thought comes up. As you can consider your intuition like a highly trained personal assistant to filter out the thoughts you don't need to know and only put forward the ones that are of utmost importance. So you can close the computer now, knowing that your intuition is doing that hard work for you. So imagine stepping out of the chair and now enjoying the garden of thoughts. Consider this a beautiful, fertile garden. A place designed for flowers, fruit trees, herbs, and all the positive, useful, nourishing thoughts. But as with any garden, weeds will grow, and sometimes they arrive suddenly, and sometimes they creep in slowly. Weeds and even unwanted insects represent intrusive thoughts. And just like any garden, sometimes they're more common in a particular season or time of year. If there's a period of life that you're going through which is stressful or intense, that might be like a season of more weeds and more insects. But you understand something profound. If you feed them with worry, with fear, with attention, with shame, then they grow stronger and they multiply. But when you simply notice them without feeding them attention or emotion, they wither, they fade, and they disappear. Instead, when you choose to water and nurture the flowers, and when you give care to the fruit trees, the whole garden thrives. Colourful blossoms and delicious fruit, the scents of herbs and flowers filling the air. Your attention is sunlight and your emotion is water, and you get to choose where to shine and where to pour your energy. No gardener would feed and water the weeds. So from today forward, whenever an intrusive thought appears, you can simply notice it and think, I'm having the thought that, reminding yourself that it's only a thought. You don't jump straight to the meaning or the implication. You tell yourself, I'm having the thought. And because it's just a thought, like it's just an email or just a weed. You get to decide what to do with it. If it's important, you deal with it. If it's a nice thought, give it gratitude, appreciate it. But if it's like spam in the inbox or a weed in the garden, you don't have to reply to it. And you don't have to feed it. You can let it be and turn your focus to something better. And because you're spending less time on those unuseful or intrusive thoughts, you'll really appreciate and notice a helpful, kind, encouraging thought. And you will want to give your time, your attention, your nurturing to those thoughts that make you feel inspired, motivated, grateful, thoughts that help solve problems before they happen. And therefore, those are the thoughts that grow stronger. And just like spam filters get smarter the more you use them, your mind learns quickly which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones are best ignored, deleted, or unsubscribed from. And just as the strongest flowers outgrow the weeds, your positive thoughts will soon take up more and more space, so that intrusive thoughts like weeds or junk mail fade quickly and quietly into the background. So as you wander around that garden, see the flowers and notice hardly any weeds. And I wonder if you can wonder about the future. Wonder how it would feel to imagine that next time an intrusive thought arrives, you can smile, maybe even with a sense of humor, knowing it's just spam, just a weed, and you get to choose what to do with it. And that choice makes you feel free to focus on what matters, free to nurture positivity, and free to live your life without being held hostage by unwanted, unuseful thoughts. I want you to imagine seeing yourself 1 year from now, happy, in the kind of relationship you want. But I want you to see that version of you that has hardly any of those intrusive thoughts that bother you, because you've trained your brain to automatically de-weed them or put them in the junk folder before they have an opportunity to bother you. And notice how much more happy you are, secure you are, and that the quality of life has gone up. That's it. So now imagine opening that laptop, that computer, and seeing a spam box, a junk folder filled with emails that you never need to read, but your actual inbox is filled with useful thoughts that create useful emotions. Start to leave this place. You leave a garden full of flowers and fruit, and a computer with a nice clean inbox. But before you leave, just pick one fruit from one of the trees and consider this fruit pure, distilled resourcefulness. That when you imagine the taste, the flavor, the texture, just imagine it is filling your body up with a wonderful feeling of resourcefulness, giving you a sense that whatever resource you need, creativity, motivation, pride, or even gratitude, it comes easily because you feel so resourceful. And then you leave the garden, this control room, and imagine floating all the way back to your physical body. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've enjoyed this show or got some benefit from it, you may know of one other friend or family member that may also benefit from this hypnosis session, in which case I'd like to ask a favor of you, and that is if you could spend 10 seconds to share this episode with someone that you know that may also benefit. That would really help me to access new people that don't already know about this show. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again on the next episode.